Hello, I'm Rob Word, and I know that we're all here to honor somebody that we all love, Clayton Moore. Even if you didn't meet him personally, you saw him on television and on the big screen, in interviews and personal appearances, in hospitals. He was everywhere for a lot of us growing up, and we have a lot of his friends here today, a lot of people who just flat out loved him. And I am one of those, and happy to be a part of this. And something that he always wanted to be, he said, was either a policeman or a cowboy. And you know, he got to be both. I'd like to thank the mounted police who were out front. You saw Silver, and that is the saddle that Clayton rode all those many years as the Lone Ranger, and the Rather Corporation gave us that. Of course, they took his mask away, but, you know, they gave that back too. So there's a lot of memories we all have about living with the Lone Ranger and the Lone Ranger's creed.
I used to listen to Jay Silverheel's Indian prayer. Jay often said to me, "How about doing the Lone Ranger creed for me, Clay?" Well, Tonto, here it is. I believe to have a friend, a man must be one. That all men are created equal, and everyone has the right and the power within themselves to help make this a greater world. I believe that God put the firewood on earth, but every man must gather and light it himself. We must make the best of what equipment that we have. And I believe in being prepared physically, mentally, and morally to fight when necessary for that which is right. I believe that sooner or later, somewhere, somehow, we must settle with this earth and make payment for what we have taken. That this country of the people and by the people and for the people shall live forever. That everything changes, but the truth alone lives on forever. I believe in my Creator, my country, and my fellow cowboys. Thank you.
Time magazine called the Lone Ranger the greatest hero ever created. And to all of us, the Lone Ranger is Clayton Moore. The daring and resourceful masked rider of the plains was born Jack Carlson Moore on September 14, 1914, on the 100th anniversary of the writing of the Star-Spangled Banner. As a young boy, his dream was to be either a policeman or a cowboy. Now, by the time he was 20, he was performing in a trapeze troupe that appeared at the 1934 Chicago World's Fair. Modeling for the prestigious John Robert Powers Agency in New York enabled him to earn a living while gaining acting experience. In the late 1930s, he would find himself in Hollywood, picking up acting work during the day, and by night, attending boxing matches with Lupe Velez, the Mexican Spitfire. At the public studios, he quickly became the most versatile and prolific leading man in the popular action serials, even rivaling the output of serial king Buster Crabbe. Now rechristened Clayton Moore, he defended Kay Aldridge in The Perils of Nyoka. He played a heavy as one of the Crimson Ghost's henchmen. He returned as the title hero in The Ghost of Zorro, and later back to playing a heavy in Radar Man from the Lord.
I'll write as my grandfather wrote. I'll become the living ghost of Zorro and drive these renegades from the land.
But it was his appearance as the masked hero in The Ghost of Zorro that caught the eye of George Washington Trendle, creator and producer of the popular Lone Ranger radio series. Now, in 1949, the Lone Ranger was to become the first Western created especially for television, and Clayton was asked by Trendle if he would like to have the part of the Lone Ranger. Clayton replied, "Mr. Trendle, I am the Lone Ranger." An exciting chapter in television history began. Children, young and old, joyously mobbed Clayton on personal appearances. reasons for the runaway popularity of the Lone Ranger was the wonderful chemistry between Clayton and his Mohawk brother, Jay Silverheels. This would prove to be the most enduring of all Western screen partnerships. Kemosabe and his faithful Indian companion, Tonto.
Come on, Tonto.
And Clayton never missed an opportunity to publicly praise his beloved trusty scout.
I love this man. He was a true American, even though he was born in Canada.
Clayton took the principles of the Lone Ranger creed to boys and girls everywhere, at kiddie television shows, on the Ed Sullivan Show, even at his daughter's 6th birthday party, and rodeos.
What's his name? Clayton Moore. His name is Clayton Moore, isn't that something? There's a good American right there.
Washington, D.C. with the Lone Ranger Peace Patrol, including a meeting with Vice President Richard Nixon.
I'd like to talk to you about that music you're using.
That's funny. I've been meaning to speak to you people about the same thing.
Have a pizza roll, Kemosabe?
Personal code of honor.
By the way, what's the music for? My big finish. Check your mirror. Been on the side of law and order.
And then, in 1979, the masked man was dry gulched. A controversial restraining order prevented Clayton, whom many thought unfairly, from appearing in a mask as the Lone Ranger. The public outcry was one of unanimous outrage. Clayton Moore was the Lone Ranger, and in 1984, America's champion of law and order received justice. The restraining order was rescinded.
I'm so glad that I have the mask back. It is my symbol. It's a symbol of the Lone Ranger. It's a symbol, if I may say so, it's Americana. It's fair play, justice, law and order. It belongs to the kids of America and all the grown-up kids out there, too. I guess when I go up into the big ranch in the sky, I'll still have it on.
Soon, Clayton was back on the trail, proudly attending the 1986 groundbreaking ceremonies for the Gene Autry Western Heritage Museum.
I love the Cowboys and Gene and Roy and Jim Maynard and William S. Hart.
Don't forget Wayne.
Alex, Duke Wayne.
And a year later, he received his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, the only star on the boulevard to list dual names, Clayton Moore, the Lone Ranger. And in 1990, Clayton, having achieved his boyhood dream, was inducted into the National Cowboy Hall of Fame in Oklahoma City. But perhaps the most telling evidence of Clayton's embodiment of the Lone Ranger came in 1988 when his twin Colt .45 caliber revolvers were stolen. In an unprecedented legal courtesy, the state district judge allowed Clayton to testify in his trademark white hat and mask-like sunglasses, explaining, "I wasn't about to be the one to reveal the identity of the Lone Ranger."
Get ready to go!
He didn't have any charisma. Every frame. And he never wounded anybody, really, just kept shooting the guns out of their hands. It was great. Where are the heroes like that? They're in our minds, they're on television, they're in our hearts, and they're going to stay there. It's up to us to pass on those memories along to the next generation, too, so that we do have heroes. And a lot of us go back a long way with Clayton. Somebody goes back further than most of us can even fathom. Back in 1940, on a film called The Son of Monte Cristo, 60 years ago, Clayton and another up-and-coming actor, Rand Brooks, worked together, and they became close friends, and Rand is here today to talk about his buddy, Clayton Moore.
Robbie did a marvelous job with us film clips. I loved it. A little bit wrong, though, because I was studying with a dramatic coach in 1938, and he was an accent breaker, and he had famous stars. You might not remember the names, but Margot, Beatty Christians. He had even worked with Garbo. And it was in a sunken living room in the Hollywood Hills. And I was down there. I was there only because they needed men to work with these ladies. I had a free ride. And they were chatting. They went to starlets around. You know, your girls talking. And all of a sudden, there was dead silence. This is 1938. And I looked up, and standing at the top of these stairs was a handsome Irishman. I hear. There was dead silence in the room. Finally, the girls started breathing again. And Clayton and I became friends. He was a little doubtful of his ability as an actor, and I knew everything. I knew everything about everything at that time. And Clayton and Tom Deal come out from New York. They lived with Clayton's cousin over the West Adams district. We were over there, and he taught me how to lift weights and how to exercise. And I'd worked with him on scripts. And I told him, I said, "Do you guys ride?" And he said, "No, I'd never been on a horse. I didn't know he'd been on this one pony in the picture." So I took him over to the Doopy Stable in Jefferson Boulevard. We went up to Loyola Hills, which are bean fields then. And it wasn't about 5 minutes, but you saw two Indians riding up there. Their arms were waving like this. There was a lot of air between the butt and the saddle, but they were both athletes, and they both had no fear. And so I can say I put Clayton on the first horse he was ever on. I told him where the horn was. Anyway, we had fun. We went on interviews. We had agents. We tried. We went down to Hollywood places, had a cup of coffee we saw we could afford. And one night there, I have to tell you that 30s were tough, if any of you were alive then. We had a 10-cent ground piece of meat and a day-old 2-cent loaf of bread, quart of milk, quarter pound of butter, 3 potatoes, had a lettuce and a tomato, and borrowed some of Clay's cousin's salad dressing. We had meat and potatoes and milk, and 33 cents, 11 cents a piece, we figured. That was nice. That night we went to a 15-cent show. They were told 3 features. They gave away dishes in those days. Anyway, strangely enough and amazingly enough, we both, or 3 of us, all signed a Metro in September of 1938 at MGM. Clayton was still pretty unsure of himself, but he didn't stay quite so long. I stayed a little bit longer, and Tom said the wrong thing and left pretty quick. Anyway, Clayton went on to Republic and did these serials and worked hard. And, I mentioned the riding there. Clayton was a tremendous athlete. He was, as you saw, airless for the circus. He was not only a flyer, but he was a catcher. And he'd injured his knee terribly flying. That's why when he went to New York to become a model. And many times in his work he had to have a steel brace on that knee, and he never complained. And I say this, I've never in all the years heard Clayton Moore say, you ever said one bad thing about England? Anyway, I'm known for this. We got a contract with Uncle Sam in 1942. 3.5 later, Zim back to Hollywood and broke, struggling. I got a break first in supporting role in the Hoppy series. And shortly after that, Clayton got the Lone Ranger. And that's when he became a different man. He became Lone Ranger. We lived right near each other in Tarzan. We both had horses and married. And I'd had a couple of kids. Whenever Clayton could, he'd come over. And, in fact, he and the well-known director, Earl Bellamy, helped build my corral. Clayton had to have it bolted together. It may be rotted to the ground, but it's sure still standing, I'm sure. And Clayton was very helpful. Uncle Clay would tell me how to raise my children. He knew just how to raise them. And so many things happened, I can't tell them all about it. But not long after that, Don arrived on the scene. And a couple of years later, I got a call. Ransom, he said, I'm having a little problem. This girl is a wildcat. She's a tiger. I don't know how to handle her. I said, you told me how to handle mine. So I knew Clayton's father, beautiful mother, and 2 brothers. My grandmother loved Clayton, and she thought he was the second most handsome actor in Hollywood. It was about 15 years ago, with my strange sense of humor, I gave Clayton a call. I said, Mo, I've bought some property near you. He says, oh, here in Calabasas? I said, no, here in Glendale, Forest Lawn. I don't want to talk about that. Don't talk about that. I said, I'm only 100 feet from you. We can always, play cards, do something. Clayton was a loving husband, a loving father. He was a great, he always arose to the occasion. And I figure 50 years from now, there'll be 2 little kids, and they'll both be deciding who to be the Lone Ranger and who to be Tonto. As they listen carefully, and I hear that great voice, I will silver away, and I'm going to get away. Thank you.
Thank you, Rand. I know that's tough, but when you talk about somebody you love, those things those happen. And I've seen him cry a lot too. That's what he does. But it's so great for all of you to be here, and I know a lot of you are standing outside too. And we wish that there were more room in here, but we thank the Autry Museum for letting us use their facilities, and Paramount for the equipment, and everybody who has come out and chipped in to help. And I'd like to mention Ben Herndon and Mike Clark, who've helped on the clips, that there are more clips that you'll see. And people have been sending in, calling, and Dawn asked me to read a letter from Senator Max Cleland, who was a friend of Clayton's and is from Georgia and who has always been a supporter of the Westerns and a close friend of Clayton's. Dear friends, all of our lives have been truly blessed because Clayton Moore walked among us. He amazed, entertained, and inspired us. His most captivated audience. I was 7 years old when the Lone Ranger rode into my life, and today I'm honored to pay tribute to my hero and my friend. Clayton dreamed of becoming a cowboy or a policeman. As an actor and a cowboy, and one who was on the right side of the law, he felt he realized all his dreams. We knew Clayton was absolutely the most honorable of men, a man of great dignity, a true role model, especially for children. He will forever be in our hearts. Clayton, happy trails to you. Until we meet again, adios, Kimasabi, most respectably, Max Cleland, United States Senator. Somebody else who got a chance to work with Clayton is here today to say a few words. He was playing a little boy, as he was wont to do in the 50s. His name is Johnny Crawford. Johnny, could you come up? We put him in the back because he was younger. We knew he could run.
Oh. This is wonderful, Rob. This is really a wonderful tribute to a wonderful man, and I'm very honored to be a part of this. You know, when I was 12 years old and working on the Rifleman, I was writing a script for the Rifleman with Chuck Connors. He was helping me write a script, and here's, I'm just going to do one of the scenes for you. It won't take very long. This is at the end of the script. And I can remember how it goes. Pa, that man. That man who just, that stranger that just rode out of town. Well, Pa, who was that man? Pa? 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 And then I wrote that part. Thank you. And then Chuck wrote this part. Son, this time I want you to throw the ball towards me instead of up in the air because I think I can do something different with the rifle. Anyway, we didn't actually shoot that episode. I don't know why. Because I insisted on directing, but Clayton Moore was just a great inspiration to me. As I get older, there are fewer and fewer things that I remember of my childhood, but a couple of things I'll never forget is when my brother and I were very little, and our parents were kind of strict on several issues, and one was what time the radio was supposed to be turned off at night. But I do remember that one show we were allowed to listen to, and it was always the last one before the radio got turned off, was The Lone Ranger. And he was just, there were many heroes in my childhood. And I feel very fortunate to have grown up during a time when children had so many heroes. There was this disco kid, and there was Roy Rogers and Gene, and Matt Dillon. There were so many, and they all stood for these wonderful things. But there was only one Lone Ranger. There was just something special about the Lone Ranger. It made you want to wear a mask. And we didn't get our own television set in our home until 1953, I think. But I remember going across the street to my friend's house, and half the neighborhood was there watching the Lone Ranger. That was such an important part of our life. And when we played Cowboys and Indians, it was the greatest thrill was to be the Lone Ranger. Unfortunately, my sister was older than me, so usually she got to be the Lone Ranger. I had to be Dale Evans or something. The other thing I remember of my childhood that I'll never forget was, as an actor, getting to do an episode of The Lone Ranger was just about the most thrilling thing that could have possibly happened to me. I thought I had died and gone to heaven. When my agent told me that I was going to be acting with The Lone Ranger, I could not believe it. I was so proud of that. And I remember being on the set and wondering if he was ever going to take off the mask, and hoping he didn't, and he didn't. And later on, I didn't see him for many years, and then I would occasionally see him at special events much later in my life, and he never let you down. Clayton was always a gentleman. He was down to earth, always friendly, always upbeat, and glad to see you, and full of energy, and just a noble gentleman. There'll never be anybody like him. And I still have that script that I wrote for the Rifleman, and I'm going to change some parts of it. I can't play the son anymore, and actually I'm too old to play the Rifleman now, but maybe I can play the sheriff. And there's some dialogue, though, that I need to fix at the very end of the script. It's when the Rifleman says, "Son, that man, that stranger that just rode out of town, why, that was the Lone Ranger." Now, people are kind of cynical now, and because, since that time, we just don't have as many heroes, and they just behave a little. The so-called heroes in movies today behave a little bit differently than heroes used to behave. They're a little more complicated, I guess, more real to life. That really was the Lone Ranger. Really, it was. It really was.
And, it's funny about Johnny, he still could, hearing him say "paw" like that. You're going to get those other roles, Johnny, when your voice changes. But enough of that. Another friend of Clayton's is Supervisor Michael Antonovich, and I'd like to bring him up here, plus the Moore family. Clarita Moore, Dawn Moore, Garrity, and her husband, Michael, for a presentation from Supervisor Mike Antonovich. So if we could have the house lights up a little bit too. Thank you.
Billy Graham, in talking about death, said it brings a time of tears and a time of joy. Tears that you lose a loved one, but a joy that you know they're with the Lord and their friends and their families, they're happy. C.S. Lewis wrote in the book, The Abolition of Man, it says, we build men without chests, and then we are shocked when we find people mocking honor and truth. Well, the Lone Ranger, and as one who was a little boy who used to listen along the radio side and eat my Cheerios, and then when we got the 9-inch television screen, I was able to watch him on television, the Lone Ranger. Those values that he talked about, he was building men and women with chests to respect honor and truth and patriotism, respect for yourself, respect for your neighbor, respect for God, respect for the environment. And it was that type of a hero that my generation had the advantage of having. In today's generation, they do not have that type of hero, be it on the CDs, cassettes that are being sold for music, or on radio and television today. But Clayton Moore was a hero, and I had the opportunity of meeting him later in life when I had the opportunity of representing the area where he resided and participating in many of the events that we have in the community where he would be involved. So on behalf of the Board of Supervisors, we passed memorials for Clayton, turning our meeting in his memory. But his memory will continue to live when those values are once again taught, that there is a need for honor, there is a need for respect, there is a need to respect your neighbor, to respect our country. And we know that his memory will live on, and those of us who have the privilege of knowing him, and the next generation will have the privilege of seeing the films and hearing the radio serials that will still be sold and shared and enjoyed by all in this 21st century. So Farida, you, Ron,
oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. He's always been so supportive of my father throughout his career. We're very, very appreciative. Now, I heard this wonderful philosophy the other day. Don't just take the path in front of you, but go where there is none and make one for others to follow. It's so apropos for my father. And I think the wisdom of his choice is illustrated by the love and support that all of you have shown for him throughout his career, but certainly today. And on behalf of his wife, Clarita, and my husband, Michael, we want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you so much.
In your program booklet, you'll notice a name, Walt LaRue, and a lot of you know who Walt is. He was a stunt man for many years. He doubled Gabby Hayes in an old Roy Rogers film, and he also worked in the lighting department. And this leg was flickering just a little bit today, so he was unable to come in, but a friend of the Autry Museum, actor Ross Altman, said he's written a song called Who Was That Masked Man? And he sang it to me over the phone, and Walt was unable to come. I mentioned this to Walt, and Walt said, "Is it a good song, Rob?" And I'll let you all be the judge of that. I thought it was really special. Ross, if you could come up, and we've got it set up center stage for you. Make it fast.
The Lone Ranger inspired many people over the years to write songs. Bob Dylan had a verse in an old song. The Lone Ranger and Tonto went riding down the line, fixing everybody's troubles, everybody except mine. Someone must have told him I was doing fine. had that wonderful chorus to "You Don't Mess Around with Jim." You don't you don't tug on Superman's cape. You don't spit in the wind. You don't pull the mask off the old Lone Ranger, and you don't mess around with Jim. If the Rather Corporation had listened to that, they would say This is a love song to a man who inspired me growing up, like he inspired all of you and kids around the world. Who was that masked man? And I'd like to dedicate it to Don Moore, to Mary Silverheels family in the North. He weren't no singing cowboy, didn't play a sweet guitar. He never kissed the girl at the end of the show. With his faithful Indian companion, Tonto and Kimosabe, and Hardy, Hi-Yo Silver, and away they go. He wasn't afraid of danger. He'd stop to help a stranger. Who was that masked man? He was the Lone Ranger. He lived by the Ranger's Creed, never drank or smoked or swore. He said that to have a friend, you had to be one. And he could shoot the gun from the villain's hand and hurt his pride, but no, I can't define a hero, but I know one when I see one. He wasn't afraid of danger. He'd stop to help a stranger. Who was that masked man? He was the Lone Ranger. They tried to take away his mask, but he won that battle too. They hired a younger actor to play his part. They could say whatever they wanted, but his fans and friends all knew he really was the Lone Ranger with all his heart. He wasn't afraid of danger. He'd stop to help a stranger. Who was that masked man? He was the Lone Ranger. Now all things change, but truth, nothing stays the same. Only the 10 Commandments were written in stone. And Clayton Moore is the only actor on the Hollywood Walk of Fame whose name's above the character he owned. He wasn't afraid of danger. He'd stop to help a stranger. Who was that masked man? He was the Lone Ranger. So here's to all the kids who rode with Clayton Moore. And here's to Jay Silverheels, his faithful friend. They never let you down when they rode out of town. You knew the Lone Ranger would ride again. Sing it with me for the Lone Ranger in town. He wasn't afraid of danger. He'd stop to help a stranger. Who was that masked man? He was the Lone Ranger.
We'll be singing out in the patio later with that. You can all sing along. That was wonderful. Thank you. Another friend of Clayton's, who is an actor, a horseman, and like all of us, inspired by Clay. is AIex Cord. Alex, could you come up and say a few words?
Watch how fast this is going to be. Everybody's already said everything I was going to say, so I'm done. This is really a great honor. Don, Michael, thank you so much for asking me. I'm honored. A couple of days ago, I was thinking about Clayton and got to thinking about heroes and how profoundly important they've been in my life as a kid growing up. They instilled in me a sense of values and a code of ethics that I live by to this day. It was through those heroes that I truly learned to understand what was right and what was wrong. I was asking Suzanne the other day if she thought kids today have heroes. We talked about it for a little while and came to the conclusion, I think Mr. Antonovich said the same thing, that they don't. They have idols, they have the celebrity of the month or the year, but they don't have heroes. The dictionary defines a hero as a man often of divine ancestry, endowed with courage and strength, admired for his nobility of purpose. Dennis Rodman, Michael Jackson, Madonna don't qualify. I was born in 1933 with an inexplicable passion for horses. And in those days, as you all know, our main source of entertainment was the radio. When I discovered the Lone Ranger, my life changed dramatically. It suddenly made sense. I had a focus, something that I could relate to. And every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday evening at 10 minutes to 7, I would start sniffing out my spot on the floor next to that radio. And I'd curl up and hunch up and plaster my head against that cloth speaker. I remember my mother said, if you want to get any closer, you're going to have to get inside the radio. And I'd just sit there and wait for that William Tell overture. And when it started, I would close my eyes and be transported right back into the Old West. And I saw everything so clearly. I rode with the Lone Ranger and Tonto for years through every cloud of dust. I had the clearest image in my mind always of exactly what the Lone Ranger looked like. And then came Clayton Moore. He was the incarnation of everything that I imagined the Lone Ranger to be. He was the embodiment of my vision. And he sounded exactly like what I thought he should sound like. As the title of his book says, he was indeed that last man. Then came Gene Autry, Roy Rogers, Hopalong Cassidy. I got to meet Mr. Autry on 2 occasions. I spent a weekend with Roy Rogers on his ranch in Apple Valley. That was pretty neat. But for me, the strongest, most enduring image of a hero will always be the Lone Ranger. I'm very proud to say he was my friend. And it tickles me even more to be able to say I was a friend of the Lone Ranger. Clayton Moore leaves a huge void. He will be sorely missed. God bless you, Clayton.
Thank you, Alex. And, you know, sitting here, Rand Brooks mentioned to me that Mike Antonovich always carried a picture of himself in his wallet, dressed as the Lone Ranger. Why did you stop? Well, our next speaker is, again, somebody who loved Clayton, loved the Lone Ranger, and was able to talk to Clay, interview him as part of his job. He got paid to go talk to the Lone Ranger, to discover Clayton Moore. Leonard Maltin. Check out his cool tie.
Great minds think alike. I just want to take a moment. I hope it won't seem disrespectful to mention, following up what Alex just said, the name of Brace Beamer, who of course was the Lone Ranger that most of us remember from radio. Think about what it must have been like for Clayton to have to live up to those images that Alex and a whole generation had. The role had already been set, it had been created, it was in people's minds. That was a tall order, big shoes to fill, and of course he filled them perfectly. I remember the first time I met him, which was at a fan convention in New York City. It's about 25 years ago. And he had just finished an autograph signing session, and he was leaving the room when a father and son with a flash camera stopped him in his path and said, "Oh, we just got here, could we?" He wasn't going to disappoint that kid or the dad. And he stopped gladly, willingly, and posed for one more picture. Well, that was Clayton Moore as I knew. He never wanted to let down his fans, and especially not kids. And I think he knew too, as he referred to, he knew the big kids, the grown-ups, were just as important as the little ones. That to me is what he was all about. Some people, some actors will complain about typecasting or complain about being locked into, straitjacketed into a part from which they cannot escape. That never seems to have been a problem for Clayton. Partly because he loved the character so much, and he loved the adulation that it brought him, and the respect that it brought him too. He never wanted to let down his fans. That leads to our final film clip segment today, which comes in two parts. This is from the Golden Boot Awards just a year and a half ago, 1998. Clayton was not feeling terribly well, but he'd agreed to come out that night. He had been one of the founders of the Golden Boot Awards and was a loyal supporter and a regular attendee, and he always brought the house down, always, when he appeared. This evening, he committed to coming, but he was frail. He was not in the best of shape, but you'd never know. What we're going to see is the film clip tribute that Rob assembled that night, followed by Clayton's acceptance. And just know that he rose to this occasion. The phrase was used before. He never failed to, and he certainly did this night. It was his last public appearance, and he made it a good one. God bless you, Clayton.
You're the only outsider I told. You're the only one who could have tipped off your daughter.
do you not?
What you're looking for?
In the West is a woman alone in a little shack in the middle of the prairie. And in comes the door, and in comes this guy with two big pearl handle guns. He's wearing a mask, got on blue tights. Now, that white hat, there's an Indian standing behind him. He says, "Don't be afraid, miss, I'm here to help you."
Apply reports with the speed of light, a cloud of dust, and a hearty height of silver. May I offer you gentlemen a drink? Well, thanks. I never touch spirit. Well, at that one. Don't do your duty. Wait a minute, Sheriff. I better lock him up, Sheriff. You're right. Now have a look at that thing. Mr. Maltin, state is all over the ready, sir. Oh, thank you. Don't you want to see this guy's face? No, they'll tell mad people later. I've got a schedule with you. All right. Come on, you inside.
I'll give you just 10 seconds before I pull this trigger.
Ollie.
All right, mister. That's the way you want it.
No, wait. Take it. Here, take it.
I do not need weapons to fight men who make war on children.
Must fight alone.
He's so handsome. What I could see of him. Now he's gone, and I didn't know his name.
Didn't even give me a chance to fight. Well, if that masked man hadn't come along when he did, I'd be in a lot worse trouble than I'm in right now.
But I wanted to see his face. To ask his name.
There really is a Lone Ranger.
He's the Lone Ranger.
The Lone Ranger. The Lone Ranger.
So it is my symbol of the Lone Ranger. It's a symbol, if I may say so, it's Americana. It's fair play, justice, law and order. Belongs to the kids of America, and all the grown-up kids out there too.
And now join me in saying hi-ho silver to Kemosabe himself, Mr. Clayton Moore.
I'd just like to say, thank you, Sabe. I know silver. I certainly appreciate this award. I wish that Buttram, my sidekick, Jay Silvios, could be here with me tonight. It's an honor to accept this award, and I certainly want to thank the Golden Boot Committee for this award. And let me say adios to all of you ladies and gentlemen, cowboys and cowgirls. Thank you, son. I would like to do the Lone Ranger Creed, if I may, for you. I believe to have a friend, a man must be one. But all men are created equal, and everyone has the power and the right within themselves to help make this a greater world. That God put the firewood on earth, that every man must gather and light it himself. I believe in being prepared physically, mentally, and morally, and to fight when necessary for that which is right. That this country of the people, by the people, and for the people shall live forever. And everything changes but the truth. And the truth alone lives on forever. I believe in my Creator, my country, and one thing for sure, my fellow man. I thank all of you, ladies and gentlemen, the Golden Boot Committee, for this wonderful award. I love you all. Adios.
Like Leonard said, he did rise to the occasion, and no one knew. I mean, feel the energy that he had and the love. I mean, aren't we lucky to be able to revisit that again? And we sure, I know Dawn and her family all appreciate the love and the letters and the phone calls, and it's been nonstop for the family, and it's something that's going to last longer than the light that has hit my... No disrespect meant it, of course. You know, I love Clayton Moore, and before we end with the great William Tell Overture, and whoever thinks of anything but the Lone Ranger when you hear that great, vibrant orchestral piece. To get some things signed once for the Golden Boot Awards, a friend of mine and I went over to Clay's house to visit, and he wanted to sign these things, but he said he wasn't feeling well, and I said, you know, we really don't have to come. We're going to put these in the auction, and he said, well, we'll come on over, and so we did, and he's signing, and I just didn't want to take too much of his time, and so we moved right along and then packed up the stuff and moved out to the car and left. And as I'm starting the car, all of a sudden, my friend says, somebody, he's coming back. And Clayton was running out the front door, and he says, wait, Rob. And he gave me a silver bullet for my 2-year-old son, who has it now in his room, and who is going to, of course, experience the roles that Clayton had, the good person, the hero that all of us were lucky enough to have in his life. And it's up to us to make sure that the legend of Clayton Moore lives on. Thank you all for coming. And there will be for those of you with the white stickers, there'll be somebody to guide you into the classroom where there's coffee and reception. And if anybody wants to pick up additional interviews, that's the place to do it. Thank you all, and long live the Lone Ranger. Now let's hear the theme song to the Lone Ranger. Crank it up!